5, 4, 3.
The signal is cleared and we are going live. This is a special bulletin from the classic Cool Broadcasting Company. Europe, 1941. France is no longer collapsing. France is adjusting. A nation divided. A government in Vichy. A line across the map that separates more than territory. In April 1942, under German pressure, Pierre Laval returns to power, replacing Admiral Darlan. And with him, a new direction. Not resistance, but collaboration with Nazi Germany. Repression intensifies.
Read what it
The Yellow
says.
Star is imposed. July 16th and 17th, 1942. Paris. Thousands of Jewish men, women, and children are arrested not by German soldiers, but by French police. The Vélodrome d'Hiver, and soon deportation. Beyond France, the world shifts. December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor. The United States enters the war. November 8th, 1942. Allied forces land in North Africa. Operation Torch. In Algiers, Admiral Darlan from Vichy is there. An agreement is made with General Eisenhower.
Yes, the destiny of Algiers is secured today.
French forces change sides. Not all approve. Winston Churchill hesitates, and de Gaulle resists.
The landings in Algiers. We must hold the line at Atlas Mountain.
December 24th, 1942. Darlan is assassinated.
Il est mort. Sécurité! Allez!
And 3 days after the landings on November 11th, German troops cross the line of demarcation. The illusion is over. France is now fully occupied. Tonight, we take you inside that turning point. A world of shifting loyalties and irreversible choices. And now our correspondent, Sterling Blake.
Not to watch.
Vichy, November 1941. The war had changed its shape, but not its rhythm. The cafés were open, the orchestras still played, and every evening, the same faces gathered under the chandeliers. Ministers, diplomats, men who spoke of peace, while the world burned beyond the curtains.
The evening is most agreeable, despite the difficult times.
It is the only way to maintain our dignity, monsieur.
Truth never walked in the open.
I had followed the French government here, like most correspondents, waiting, watching, writing stories no one could yet understand. But in Vichy, truth never walked in the open. It whispered in corridors, behind closed doors, between 2 glasses of champagne, served a little too slowly. That's when her message reached me. Veronica, Vale, Washington, precise, brief, and unusually urgent. She didn't ask questions. She gave directions. Leave Vichy, head south. Your papers are ready. No explanation, no signature, just a final line. Tangier. Tangier, a city that didn't belong to anyone, and yet to everyone. Since the summer of 1940, Spain had quietly taken control. Neutral, they said. But in times like these, neutrality was just another word for opportunity. Spies, diplomats, exiles, and men who had already chosen their side. long before the war did. My papers were waiting for me at the American consulate, stamped, signed, and not meant to be questioned. From Vichy, a car would take me to the Spanish frontier. From there, Algeciras, and a crossing across a narrow stretch of water straight into the unknown. I didn't know what Veronica had found, but I knew one thing. If she was sending me to Tangier, then whatever was unfolding there was about to matter to the war and to us. Tangier, a city that didn't belong to any one nation, and yet to all of them. By day, it wore the face of a postcard, sunlight on white walls, voices drifting between Arabic, French, Spanish, and English. But by night, Tangier changed its language. The lobby of the El Minsa never truly slept. Keys whispered across polished wood, names signed in careful handwriting. Some real, others less so. I watched them arrive, men who spoke softly, but carried influence. Officers without uniforms, diplomats without portfolios, and businessmen whose business was never written down. And then there were the others, the women. Elegance wrapped in perfume and mystery. Eyes that lingered a second too long. Laughter that concealed more than it revealed. No one asked questions, not in Tangier. Because in places like this, questions were a currency. And the wrong one could cost you everything.
I told you he was trouble.
The Dean's Bar was where the masks slipped, just enough. The jazz came first, an American sound, out of place, and yet perfectly at home. A trumpet, low and intimate, a piano that knew when to speak and when to stay silent. And beneath it all, deals were made, not loudly, never loudly. A glass raised, a glance exchanged, a name mentioned, once and never again. At one table, a German officer listened more than he spoke. At another, a British gentleman pretended not to notice him. Across the room, a man from Madrid laughed too easily. And in the corner, someone from Washington took mental notes. As for me, I stayed exactly where I was supposed to be. Visible, but forgettable. That's when I realized something. Tangier wasn't just a city of secrets, it was a crossroads. And every road in this war seemed to pass through it. That evening, I wasn't in Dean's Bar by chance. Under Veronica instruction, I was here to meet a man, Paul Gastier, a French journalist, officially working for La Dépêche Marocaine, unofficially working for London. We had something in common. We both wrote stories that were never meant to be printed. Veronica had arranged everything, the place, the time, the kind of meeting that disappears into the noise of a crowded bar. The Dean's Bar, of course, but Gastier wasn't the story, not really. The story was what he knew, and what he knew came from somewhere no one was supposed to look. The Mendubia, a building the Spanish had quietly handed over to the Germans, a new consulate, a new presence, and a man recently arrived from Berlin, then from Madrid, Herbert Noering, German diplomat, or something else entirely. Gastier's information didn't come from cables or intercepted messages. It came from inside. A woman, someone who moved through corridors, unnoticed, listening, remembering, and walking out with more than she was supposed to carry. The Germans believed they were building a listening post. They had no idea. Someone was already listening to them. That was my mission. Not to watch Tangier, but to listen to those who thought they were unheard.
From Vichy to Tangier, some lines are drawn, others disappear.
From a quiet room in Vichy town, where the lights stay low and the blinds stay down, they were talking peace with a careful smile, while the world was burning mile by mile.
Stamp papers, a borrowed name, every border crossing a different game. I wasn't chasing headlines or fame,
Just listening in someone else's name. There's an invisible line you never see between what is said and what's meant to be. In the shadows where the truth walks slow, that's where the quiet voices go. I don't need to watch, I don't need to fight, I just follow whispers through the night, 'cause every secret leaves a sign along the invisible line.
along the invisible line,
Along the invisible line.
dans les salons où l'on murmure, sous les regards et les dorures, on parle bas, on ment parfois, mais tout s'entend, même sans voix.
Les vers s'entrechoquent en douceur, mais chacun cache sa peur, et derrière les mots choisis se dessinent d'autres vies. There's an invisible line in every room, where the silence speaks before the boom, and the ones who think they're out of sight are already heard in the night.
Las calles de Tangier suena
Una verdad que nadie frena.
entre miradas y secretos.
Se cruzan sombras y decretos.
No hace falta decir tu nombre,
Cuando el silencio ya responde,
y en cada paso sin razón
se esconde otra intención. A woman walks through every door, hears what no one heard before. No uniform, no written trace, but every secret leaves a face. They built their walls, they locked their doors, they thought they knew what silence was for. There's an invisible line through every lie, through every glance that passes by. In every room, in every sound, there's something lost and something found. I don't need a chase, I don't need to run. The quiet work is never done, 'cause every voice leaves a sign along the invisible line. Along the invisible line. Along the invisible line.
not to watch, but to listen.
To those
But to listen.
who thought they were unheard.
To those who thought they were unheard. But to